Hello everybody. I'm Agneta Dahlgren. I'm very pleased to be invited here today and to have the opportunity to talk with you, everybody. And Gro invited me to make two keynotes, one today and one for tomorrow. Today it will be a more personal journey about my career, if I may say, and not only, also why, in fact, when I prepared this presentation for today, I wondered how you become a design director. I am design director today for C and D segment vehicles at Renault Design Department in France. So I wondered how do you become one of these people? And I will show you my personal journey. So that's the keynote for today. And tomorrow I will go more into my job as a design director. I will explain where we are, how we are working at Renault Design, and also taking as an example the wonderful Megane E-Tech that you saw just in front of the building here today, which is my one of my latest projects. So let's start with this personal thoughts. So I took some notes here in English as well. So let's start with this image. 1972, I was happy fishing in Lake Åsunden, and I am born some years earlier in a little town in Sweden called Ulricehamn, in the south of Sweden, not far from Gothenburg, for those who knows. And at that time, 1972, well, there is a mismatch on the image, but it's not any problem. That year I was going from being the little sister of from my elder brother to become a grand sister that year. And I was an independent child from start, kindly busy on myself, or pleased to play with friends in town or with the huge family who lived around. I spent time at the farm of my grandparents, and I learned crochet by my grandmother, sewing at school. I played piano and the guitar. I painted, and I get my first cat. I was active all the time, and my parents that year bought a summer house 10 kilometers away on the other side of the lake, where I still go today. And on that lake, Åstunden, I also drove a car for the very first time in my life, and it was probably the open record station wagon that you can see on the picture. Some years later, we moved in 1978. We moved 250 kilometers away, all the family. So we get away from friends and from family to a small village called Reimyre in Östergötland. I didn't want to. It was really hard for me. I've already got all I loved, and I didn't need anything else. Big changes. I also entered high school same year. I was some shy, but I soon get used to my new life, new friends, horse riding. I started to play football. That was what you could do in that little town. And I've learned joinery in school, and I liked everything except languages. I started to learn German. I stayed in the German class for 1 week. It was not my piece of cake. And I changed after 1 week to the French class because my best friend, she was in the French class. I think that changed my life that day. I was a curious young girl. I loved new experiences. I learned textile dyeing, knitting, photographing. I moved from home at 17 years old, moving into a small apartment at my own, nearby the high school. I get my driving license 2 months after my 18 years old birthday, and I liked driving. I sometimes joined my father and brother repairing cars, and after high school I went to France as an au pair for 1 year in Provence. A rather mixed experience. Once at home I said, never, never again France. Back again, my father bought a Peugeot 304 that you can see here on the picture. It may have been my first step to reconsider my opinion about France. In 1986, I started my university studies at Luleå University of Technology, Industrial Environment and Engineering Education initiated the year before. After 3 years of basics in mathematics, chemistry, etc., but also ergonomics and psychology, I went for the orientation to product development. As many of my friends, I wanted to apply for a year abroad and never say never because I went back to France. A young Frenchman that just arrived helped me to find a university in France that fit to my studies. It was the Technological University of Compiègne in north of Paris, and there I studied industrial design. The young man bought a car, a Simca Talbot Horizon that you can see here. And when he left Sweden, I took it over and it became my first owned car. In 1990, I never left France since, nor the young man who advised me. In 1990, I visited Paris Motor Show and discovered the concept car Renault Laguna. As first seed of automotive design, interest was planted into me. I started to work as a trainee at Renault Design Department, and I made a study called Water and Wine about Renault and Volvo design strategies. I graduated from both Luleå and Compiègne universities. I get married and I was engaged at Renault Design Department 2 years later. In 1991, Renault and Volvo had a project to create a common automotive alliance. It failed. Minor action holders of Volvo voted against the alliance, feared of the involvement of the French state in Renault as a major actionnaire at that time. I discovered what was automotive design, and I get engaged at 1992 at Design Communication Department, and I started to learn at that time what it's all about. 1993, I was working as a designer engineer in the concept car unit. So that's the link to the Laguna we saw just before. The Renault Twingo was born that year. So is also my first child, Anna. 5 months later, I become a working mummy and I entered the concept cars unit. In 1996, Renault becomes a private company. The design department moves to the Techno Center outside Paris. Me and my husband bought a house nearby. I changed job to the automotive projects department, and I expect my second child born the year after. In 1999, Renault buys the Romanian low-cost brand Dacia and enters into an alliance with the Japanese car manufacturer Nissan. I needed change as well, and I became a design project leader. I started working with commercial vehicles and collaborate with Volvo Design at that time. 2003, I continue my job as a design project leader, moving to automotive projects. My third daughter is born, Malou, and we needed to extend our house and decided and double the surface building and building a modern extension to our tiny house. At work, processes are evolving quickly, integrating more and more digital. I work on different projects in the C and D segments, Espace, Mégane, Scénic, until the opportunity to lead the Zoe project. 2011. The Renault Zoe is to be launched, completing a lineup of electric vehicles for the Renault brand. And as a pioneer in EVs, this is the most important step in our ambition to become leader in the vehicle electrification. I became director of the C and D segment. 2016, and after some hardworking years, with 3 children at home, and with several vehicle developments, acceleration of digital processes, the launch of the new Mégane, we finally released also the Renault Scénic, a reinvention of the family car. And thanks to a great teamwork, it resulted for me in getting the prize Femme de l'année in the automotive world, designed by an European journalist jury. And at that year, we also started to work on the CMF EV platform. What is that? So CMF EV platform is the base for today's electrical vehicles at Renault. And one of them is this, the Mégane E-Tech. In 2023, so this year, we have passed COVID. During that period, we learned how to work at a distance. Spending more time at home, I also practiced my gardening skills, cooking healthy and sketching flowers. At Renault, we get a new CEO and a new organization, and behind a successful woman or a man, there is a team, and on the backstage, a life, a family, and friends. And key for success for me is to never forget to share that garden. So that's my personal journey. And just to end, I would like to say that diversity really matters. Both visible and invisible obstacles in systems and culture that hold women back in the auto industry. And in a more general way, industry and society need diversity to drive changes. Diverse vision angles allows innovation. How to innovate if you look with the same eyes? Multi-competencies to learn and to move quicker. Multinational, things get closer today. And adaptation, we need to change quicker, open our eyes to be curious. So that's all for me. Thank you for listening.